Alice and I were best friends since we were little, and she ended up engaged to my brother after they were together for 4 years. Literally, the morning of the wedding, she told my brother she met someone else, my brother's friend, and was leaving my brother. Obviously, I cut her off after that because she's a piece of crap. She was literally upset about this, and this was a big deal because we usually talked at least once every single day. 4 months later, she showed up at my door crying and asked me to help her. So I let her in and asked if she was okay, and she said her new boyfriend, the guy she left my brother for, is emotionally abusive, constantly putting her down, screaming if she does anything he doesn't like, telling people stuff she told him in confidence, etc. She said she was scared of him and asked if I could help her. She said he was tracking her location secretly and forbidding her from talking to her friends or family, and he was probably going to yell at her for going to my apartment if she went back home. I said it wasn't my problem, especially after what she did to my brother. I told her to leave and not come back and deal with it herself. The whole encounter lasted maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I told some people about what happened, and they all said I was an idiot because she's my ex-best friend and she's being abused. She's called me like 5 times since this happened, last week. I don't know if she's asking for help or what because I don't pick up. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Why didn't she go to her family or friend's house? She was already going to get in trouble for being at your house. Why would she go back to his house after coming to your apartment if she was looking for help to get away? It's also not your problem. She was a big enough girl to walk away from your brother on their wedding day. I'm sure she can find a way to walk away from this abusive relationship. I don't see how she was asking for help either. It sounds like she just wanted someone to vent to. The fact she didn't pick her friends and family probably shows that they've heard it all before, have tried to help her, and she doesn't go through with leaving. OP was her first friend not long ago, and considering how controlling her new boyfriend is, he's probably actively trying to isolate her from her family and friends. I mean, he's tracking her. It's a typical abusive tactic. OP might legitimately be the only person she felt she could dare go to. Also, leaving abusive situations is often much more challenging than just walking away. I think it's everyone's the idiot here situation. It's really gross how many people here keep saying that deciding not to marry someone means that they deserve to be abused by a new partner. Should being a crappy partner to the brother potentially cost the woman her life? The victim blaming is revolting. It's not that. She cheated on OP's brother, which destroyed their friendship. She's a stranger now, not a friend, not someone involved in OP's life. Why should OP be singled out to disrupt their lives to help a stranger? Tell them to go to the police or shelter. OP, she knew if she left your brother she would even lose you and many other things. She's a grown woman and made a decision. A stupid one, in fact. However, there may be something more here, and if she keeps calling you, you might want to help her at least minimally. Maybe you can provide advice, at least, and then reach out to someone else to help her. The only idiot here so far is the guy tracking her. A part of me thinks that this is her way of trying to weasel back into your brother's life by playing the victim. But there's no proof of that, just my own pessimism. So, just to be safe, contact her parents and go from there. She may not be your friend anymore, but that doesn't mean to say you can't help her, or at the very least, try to verify her story. My fiancé and I have been together for over a year and have been living together for 3 months. I have a little daughter that I have full-time, and he has 2 sons, pre-tween and tween, that he has every other week. Everything has gone well thus far, and everyone has seemingly adjusted well to all of the changes in our lives. The older one occasionally suffers from nightmares. Before I was in the picture, he would always sleep in his dad's bed after a nightmare. After I moved in, he started waking my fiancé up and they would go to the living room and lie on the couch. However, now that he's more comfortable around me, there have been a couple of occasions when he's crawled into our bed with us in the last few weeks. I don't feel comfortable with this for many reasons. I don't think it's appropriate for a child to share a bed with a new step-parent, and I'm still the fiancé. Secondly, I don't feel comfortable sharing a bed with a near teenager or having one randomly crawl into our bed. Not to mention, what if either my fiancé or I wasn't decent at the time? I told my fiancé that I was uncomfortable with him sleeping in our bed and that in the future I'd appreciate it if he either slept on the couch with him or took him back to his room and stayed with him. He instantly became defensive and tried to say that he couldn't just take away his son's comfort place and that he wouldn't expect me to do what I was asking if the roles were reversed. I told him that I wouldn't put him in that position. We went back and forth a bit, but I finally told him that how he chooses to comfort his son after a nightmare is up to him, but my stance remains the same, and I don't want him sleeping in our bed. We haven't discussed this any further, but he still seems somewhat upset with me. Was I unreasonable or unfair? You are the idiot. You're the new person at home and there's a kid with nightmares. For some reason, you perceive something very wrong with a boy being comforted by his parent in his parent's bed and parent's home. Whatever compromise you make should be aimed at putting the boy's well-being first. Don't become an evil stepmother. It's too early for your relationship, and it will impact it. He is a kid who's been dealt with a life event that often affects kids in many ways. If you don't like it, get another bedroom and excuse yourself from the bed. It's a nightmare. It will stop at one point when he's ready. Be happy you're considered trustworthy. Not the idiot. I can't believe folks suggest you fully wake up and move to the couch every time this big boy has a nightmare. In what universe isn't that kid way too damn big to snuggle up with the two of you? At best, his father could put a fold-out army-style cot in the bedroom for this very big boy for him to quietly unfold and set up next to his father's side of the bed, without waking the whole family. The situation you're being asked to deal with isn't remotely normal. Let them be just as upset as they want with you. It's time for your fiancé to grow up enough to help his tween son do the same. It's possible he's lying and it isn't nightmares. I struggled to sleep alone until I was late in my teens, and I forced myself because I was embarrassed that I couldn't sleep alone. So I would lie and say it was just nightmares when I was also experiencing anxiety at being alone. I felt dumb for fearing nothing, and then I would have a nightmare. Snuggling with parents at any age equals good and healthy. Being unable to sleep through the night alone as a tween equals unhealthy. Not taking your kid to get medical health when he's regularly having nightmares severe enough to prevent sleeping equals bad parenting. If he's having this many nightmares and sleeping with his dad, there's often something else going on, and it may be time for them to seek some counselling to figure out what's going on. A friend of mine, 41 female, Millie, 35 female, recently discussed starting a book club and inviting some other mothers to it. A time for all of us to meet up, have the kids play together, talk about a book, and relax. I thought this sounded like a good idea. I'm an avid reader when I have the time for it, so I said it sounded like a great idea. Ahead of the first meeting, Millie told me that the first book we'd be reading would be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I wasn't thrilled to hear this. I was under the impression that we'd be reading books written for adults, but I figured, hey, I can read Harry Potter for the first month. Kind of half-heartedly, I read the Harry Potter book. It was okay, it wasn't bad. It's just not the kind of thing I wanted to read in my spare time. I might have enjoyed reading it with my daughter, but she had already tried to read it a few years ago and didn't like it. I went to the book club and we had a nice enough time. It was kind of obvious that Millie was much more into the book than anyone else there, but we still had a good time chatting amongst ourselves, and some people had some interesting insights. At the end of the meeting, though, Millie said, "Okay, let's meet again on the last Monday of next month, this time for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets." I was floored. So were some of the other mothers. One of them asked Millie if this was just a Harry Potter book club, and Millie immediately got very defensive, asking what was wrong with finishing a series now that we'd started it. That same mother said she didn't want to read more Harry Potter and that we should read something else, and Millie insisted that she was in charge of the book club. That mother and one other said that they no longer wanted to take part, and it all ended on a pretty sour note. I've thought about it, and I'm not so sure I want to stay in either. But I know if I quit, it will upset Millie just as much as the other mums upset her, if not more, because this would leave only 3 people in the club. Am I the idiot if I quit this club? Not the idiot. Millie wants a Harry Potter book club and doesn't seem to handle the fact that not every one of her friends is a Potterhead. Be kind but firm and set your boundaries. No reason to stay in a club you don't enjoy keeping from hurting Millie's feelings. An adult should be able to handle other adults having different preferences without feeling hurt about it. Yeah, I've never heard of a book club where only one person is in charge and they choose the books. Usually, everyone votes on the books out of the stuff they're all interested in. How much are you willing to bet she's already read them? Yeah, probably several times, including the companion books. That isn't a book club. That's a forced co-read. Book clubs involve everyone having input towards the selection of the book. She's welcome to continue reading the book again and again, but it seems more like she wants an excuse to talk about the books. But it isn't fair to make your friends a captive audience. Wouldn't anyone in their 30s or 40s who wanted to read the Harry Potter series have read it by now? What a bizarre choice. I would LOL and say, nah, not interested if someone tried to get me to read them in a book club. I can't think of anything I'd want to read less right now. Not the idiot, OP, and ask the other quitting members if they want to start a book club with you where you rotate who picks the books. That's half the joy of being in a book club. You get to discover authors you mightn't read on your own. So if you want to quit, quit. My club's down from like 10 people to 4 or 5, but it's fine. I, 36 female, have always wanted to be a police officer. I graduated from college with my associates and applied to be a state trooper. Some of the tests were difficult and I was worried I might not pass. I did graduate from the academy and now work full-time as an officer. I have a daughter, young child, with my partner, 36 male. My sister, 38, was not supportive of my career choice and still voices against it. My sister and her partner, 39 male, got married last year. Her boyfriend Jack is pleasant to the rest of the family except me. Jack and my sister wouldn't come over during the holidays when they first got together. I could tell it was painful for him to talk to me and I kept my distance. Jack was kicked out of his house when he was 18 and had to live on the streets. I always help the homeless however I can. I've helped homeless families find shelter and give them food, blankets and clothing. I never knew why Jack hated me until the weekend of my daughter's birthday. I worked the night shift and got the whole house ready for the party. Jack came over and didn't say anything to me. He spent most of the party glaring at me and walking away whenever I got close to him. I finally had enough and pulled him aside, asking what his problem was. He tells me that he hates that I'm a police officer. Officers would always cause trouble for him when he was homeless. He then tells me that things would be fine if I quit my job. I tell him no, this is not his decision to make. My sister storms over and scoffs, saying I can't believe you would choose a job over family. As of now, we are no longer sisters. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. But what? He seriously asked. No, demanded you quit your job to make him feel more comfortable? Are they paying your bills? Are they going to pay your bills if you quit? I don't think so. Your sister has been looking for an excuse to make an ultimatum. Don't fall for it. Cut her off for a while. Let her stew in her own stupidity. Does my career hurt your feelings? Okay, I'll quit as soon as you start paying my salary and paying my benefits that extend to my family. Oh, you can't do that? Then it appears your opinion of my career is not worth my time. Good day, sir. The dude needs to work on his issues. If I were you, I'd go very low contact with them. What does he think would happen if you didn't take the job? It's not like the police will stop existing. Somebody else would take it. Not like you'll become a bad person either. You're the same, good or bad, whether or not you take the job. If he can't look you in the eyes because you're a police officer, even if you're a good person, he's got some issues he needs to work on. All right, I'll do it. I'll be the monster. OP, you are the idiot for that job being a police officer. You think you help the world, but you don't. You're here to protect property and the state's interests, not to help protect people like Jack. I wouldn't be surprised to hear Jack is the victim of police violence. If you really want to help people, please reconsider your profession. Let's think this through. You want to convince everyone you can not to be a police officer because they cause violence, etc. I get it. In the best-case scenario, you'll convince many decent, empathetic people who care about their communities to quit their job. Do you know who's left over? All the power-hungry idiots who don't care about the community. My sister has a lot of health issues and is on disability, and recently my brother-in-law had a heart attack, making neither of them in a state to take care of my niece, Tween. They asked us to take her for 3 months while they recovered, and we agreed. However, the problem is our house is 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. We have 2 children, teen female, tween male, and they each have a room, and my husband and I have the master bedroom. Our bathroom is attached to our master suite and my children share a bathroom. We also have a basement with a 1-bedroom and a small entertainment area. My husband uses it as his man cave mostly and no one goes down there. My husband wants our daughter to share her room, but she doesn't want to, and I think a teenager and a tween won't get along. So then he wanted to put up curtains in the living room for her, but then no one could hang around in the living room and it will be hard to have guests. Not to mention it isn't as comfortable as having an actual room. I want to put her in our spare bedroom in the basement, but my husband doesn't want anyone in his space. Then he argued my niece should go to my brother, who definitely has more room, but they live out of state. I told him it would just be for 3 months, but he's against letting her stay there because it's his space. We argued about this for days before my niece arrived and, against my husband's wishes, and showed her to the basement room in his man cave. Of course, the bedroom still has a door, so he can play video games and pool down there, but he can't do it after 9 p.m. now since my niece will hear him and she needs to sleep. He's furious and won't talk to my niece or me and picks up extra work to avoid us, saying, "Well, I have nowhere to be in my own house." Not the idiot. Your husband has some real problems here. First, it's only for 3 months. Second, do you have a private woman cave? Didn't think so. Having a man cave is a privilege, not something he's owed or must have. He can give it up for 3 months. It's funny that he's against her being in his space and then insists on her either staying in the daughter's room or in the living room. It seems that he's okay with her being in other people's space as long as it isn't his. A man cave isn't essential like an office is, so her staying in the man cave is the most practical option. It's understandable not to want people in your space, but considering everything the niece is going through, she should be allowed to have private space. He should care more about doing what would make her comfortable when both of her parents are having health issues. The daughter should give up her only private room, but he, who has the whole house, can't give up his second bedroom. It's not like it's his home office or anything, and even if it was, unless he 100% works from home, he could still give that room up. He can use the living room just like anyone else. What a bully. God damn, I hate man caves. Where's your private space? Why does he get one and you don't? If you can live without one all the time, he can give it up for 3 months. I'm sure his trauma from this will be great. Maybe the little niece can teach him how to process loss and change. OP, what do you see in such a selfish human? He's being mean to a child who's been forced from her home because her parents are too ill to care for her? That's disgusting and shameful behaviour.